What's good? It's your boy Logic. And what the hell? Like DJ Envy out here spilling all his business. I'm like, God damn. I'm like, like I said, what it seems like to me is that when people don't have nothing better to do, if you're not the type of person to like make a sex tape or whatever the case may be, it's the next best thing is to talk about your sex life and your relationship, like past, present, future, whatever, to expose shit that's supposed to be going on behind closed doors to the public, right? And it's like this, especially if you're still with the significant other that you're talking about. You're going to open the door to criticism, which is fine. If you're public figures and you've been tested and you understand and you already know how to handle that shit, that's perfectly fine. But if you ain't been tested like this before, you're opening up a can of worms that could pose a threat to your relationship. Like, especially when it comes to a woman who really tends to get emotional and women tend to thrive on social media. So I'm like this. They both about 40 years old, and I'm just like, what are y'all doing, man? Like, all right, whatever. You can make DJ look like an idiot because he don't know how to please his woman. Fine, whatever. And you want to talk about how, whatever. Now, I will give DJ Envy some props for this. He got with a virgin. Like, and I think he said, from what I remember is they were both like virgins or whatever like that. So he got prime real estate, right? He got, he didn't have to worry about her body count. The pair bonding was there, whatever. But he did end up cheating or whatever. And that kind of threw him in the doghouse for a little bit. But I'll say this. He probably never looked more like a man than when he cheated. Because the way she talks about how he's catering and pleasing and doing all this and jumping through hoops to try to please her, it just seems like he's trying too hard. And that might throw her arousal off already. She might not state this, but a guy that tries too hard, it'll actually turn a girl off in certain circumstances. Like, you know what I'm saying? So there's a lot there, whatever. But yeah, they're airing out their dirty laundry, right? And I'm like, all right, whatever. I don't agree with it, but fine, you did it. And then the icing on the cake is the message that his wife tried to spin in there, which if a woman's involved, you already know there's an agenda to push some type of little back end message about women, the narrative of women being seen as sex objects and blah, blah, blah. Oh, you see it everywhere. You see women draped over cars and in bikinis and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, here's the thing. Here's the thing. All right. Especially nowadays, you might have had a case if we're talking about the 90s, early 2000s and back, right? Now that y'all been liberated, got your own, there's no need for pimps or nothing, and you can kind of be self-employed and all this other stuff like that. 99% of women put themselves in sexual positions because it's the easiest way to exploit themselves for money. It's the easiest kind of work. Now, it will come with its drawbacks and stuff, but the money is fast. And most women, so whatever narrative or whatever you're talking about that's being pushed by women, like, y'all push it. OnlyFans is blowing up because women flock to it. No man pushed a woman to go to OnlyFans. They saw opportunity and they capitalized it. And OnlyFans is just a small part. You go to those cam sites where girls are on the webcams doing all this other stuff. They went there. Those sites boom because women perpetuate, Now, it just so happens that guys do enjoy it. But just because we enjoy something doesn't mean you got to do it. But if you know you can get something from us, you'll go ahead and do it. So it's like an exchange of goods or whatever. Oh, there's a demand. You go out and fill a demand. Hey, it sucks. Now, here's the fucked up thing. Now, there's also a demand for, pure women, girls that aren't out there thotting around, racking up body counts. But damn, they sure don't. There sure ain't girls flocking to do that. And you know why? Because it's hard to do that. It's hard to stay pure. It's hard to be a wife because you have to actively reject sexualizing yourself for a personal gain. A woman knows that if she cannot use her body, if I made a rule, if there was a God or a Lord or a being that said women cannot use their bodies to gain in a sexual manner to gain any type of advantage, they would struggle their fucking ass off. Like the only reason why they get opportunities is because of how they sexualize themselves, or whether they get a guy to do the job for them by promising potential sex or inferring sex, and because plenty of times they won't even give you sex. They'll just tease you, and then you'll be a clown and do whatever it is they wanted you to do, and then they just back out of the deal. So, it's like that silent deal. Then they play dumb because they can play coy. Like, I never said I was gonna, and I'm just like, right, you're probably like 20, 30 years old. We've been on this earth long enough, and we kind of know social cues and stuff like that. And we understand that, what shit is, but because you have the privilege of not actually saying it out into the world, you can, have the anonymity of, like, I don't know. I mean, what are you getting at? Like, what I didn't say, and we're just like, all right. And hopefully guys learn. Hopefully guys like pick up on that shit. Like, yeah, you're going to get clowned a couple times, and eventually, hopefully most guys pick up like, all right, I've been through this before. I'm going to have to get some shit up front or something, or just leave it alone and let her, fuck over somebody else. But the sexualization of women is, especially nowadays, is done by women. I'll give you back in the day, when with the brothels and the pimps and the trafficking or whatever the case may be. I get it. I get it. But times have changed. Girls are in pretty much control of their body. And they know what they can gain from it, especially in the internet age where you can sexualize yourself to the whole world. Like, all right, you can do your neighborhood, you can make a little bit of bread, but now that you can reach the entire planet, all right, the potential there to make a lot of money is very appealing and addicting, and you know what I'm saying. And once that money come in or whatever, but it's always funny that when their looks start to fade and they can't capitalize off their beauty, they starting to come out champion about women's abuse and over sexualization and shit. Like that one model who's like 50, 60 years old talking about she's invisible to men now. I'm like, but you were a model, cream of the crop, and you were getting everything that you wanted and desired. And now that you're 60 years old or whatever, you're crying about ageism or something. I'm like, it's so ass backwards logic that it's just kind of like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You know what I'm saying? You can't partake and then complain about what you partaking in or what they took away. It's like, I'm eating the cake, I'm enjoying the cake, and then over time they pull the cake away, and then we're going to complain about the cake. And I'm like, no, you had a piece. Most men don't get shit. They got to buy the cake. They don't get a cake put in front of them. We got to buy the cake, earn the cake, fight for the cake. We got to do all types of shit to get what men want. Like, unless you're born in a good family, like rich family, you got the best genetic, everything has to fall, so much stuff has to fall in line for you to get the same kind of access that just a regular girl. She don't even got to be gorgeous. She just got to be like not fat. All right, she got a little bit of like, I'll tell you this, if you take care of your body, just don't, like I said, just don't, and you can be thick, just can't be fat, right? And just do your makeup like average, you know what I'm saying? Don't cake it on too hard or whatever. You could be and here's the funny thing about makeup. Makeup is crazy. an average chick, let's say a 5 or a 6, if she knows what she's doing with makeup, she can easily become an 8. So makeup has blurred the lines when it comes to like the grading scale that men would use. Regardless of what women say about why men gotta judge women, why is there a grading scale for? I'm like, what the fuck are y'all talking about? We use numbers because it's basically this. We use numbers because we can share that data with each other, and it's easy to understand because we understand numbers and shit. That's because men are logical. See, now women, they'll just run through their emotions on a guy and then a lot of times they'll just be like, hey, he just don't make enough money, he ain't tall enough, he ain't dark enough, he ain't this enough, he ain't that enough. See, the funny thing about men is that men like variety. So a girl's never really going to be short enough, tall enough, or whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? And in some occasions, we'll fuck a fat chick. Like, we might not keep her around, but we'll take different varieties, and the ones that, like, we do tend to settle down or whatever, find the one, whichever one gives us the most peace. And this typically, this type of mindset is going to come a little bit later in our years, because there's a lot of guys that'll try to pick the baddest bitch because he'll want to kind of like show off to like his homies and maybe even to other chicks that he got a bad bitch. And usually she'll be probably the most toxic, right? And then he'll have to get torn up through that relationship, and then eventually, when guys start to actually value, yeah, she can still look good, but instead of having like an 8, 9, or 10, you have to hit that sweet 7 spot. And then she's bringing in some of the homemaker skills and stuff like that, and she's learned you and know how to soothe you, calm you down when you're having a rough day and stuff like that. That's typically what a guy should go for, right? So, but you'll have to be experienced, and it'll come later with age. But guys are typically going to be wanting to if they know what to do, they're not trying to go after hoes who people got promiscuous past, stuff like that. And that's usually, like I said, that's usually due to a woman sexualizing herself. And like I said, we live in a day and age where everybody wants to tape everything they do and take a picture of everything they do. So it's very easy to track a girl's past because she likes to brag about it on social media. So it was funny how DJ Envy's wife wanted to push that whole message about the sexualization of women and stuff. And I'm just like, women do it to themselves. Just like when that chick from Martin put that Twitter post out talking about how can black women prevent some of the damage we do to by emasculating men. And she got so much backlash about women talking about men do it to themselves. We need to worry about us, man. Fuck men. And girl, you tripping and this and that and all this backlash. Now, I'm not, like I said, it is right that men do emasculate themselves. But at the same time, women do aid in it. And that's typically by being a single mom, not having a father figure, a strong male role model in the kid's life. Also, when it comes to men doing it to themselves, especially out here, because they didn't have a man to kind of teach them the P's and Q's about how to interact with women, men kind of go to that default setting, if they don't know what they're doing, to kind of over catering to a woman, where you're passively emasculating yourself by succumbing to her demands and stuff like that. And as a man, you have to come with the demands. You have to have your shoulders back, chest out, and you got to command some authority. And not like overtly, but let the woman know that you ain't going to take her bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Maybe there's a little bit of push and pull, and tug and shit, and as far as the dynamics go. But at the end of the day, you draw your line in the sand and be like, hey, I ain't going past this. So I don't care what the fuck you say or what you try to get me to do, but I'm just gonna let you know it's gonna stop right here. And when she know that she can't get you to move past that line, whether if she fuck with you like that, she'll respect it, and and then you can kind of try to like move to the next level. Or if she's the type of person that was trying to use somebody, she'll just move on to the next person, because she knows that she'll have an abundance of options to where she'll eventually find a guy that'll step over that line that they think they won't cross. So, and like I said, with DJ Envy jumping through all these hoops trying to plead, she knew in the back of her mind that he's willing to cross lines and stuff because he don't know what the fuck he's doing. My arousal's down because he's not acting like a man and all this other shit. So if you want to read into it like deeper. So I didn't really respect what she was trying to throw in there and whatever. Nobody gives a fuck about DJ Envy's wife. So she's probably using this platform, this spotlight on their relationship, or on the book or whatever the case may be, to kind of get her name out there. Because I'd never even seen what she looked like until just now. And that's by design. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, all right, woman, if your man is successful, you should be in the background making sure, metaphorically, like the lights are set up, everybody's in their proper positions, this, that, and the other, so that when your man goes out on stage, everything runs smooth. He looks like a G, and he brings back all the bread and accolades back to you. Build the kingdom, so on and so forth. Pass it down to the kids. That's how it works. Now, like I said, you can twist it up a little bit or whatever if you want to, but we know that when a woman's on stage, she'll trample all over the dude. And that usually tends to happen when people who normally never really had power like that, when you give it to them, they go overboard. You know what I'm saying? Like let an oppressive king let's say there was an oppressive king, he wasn't treating the people that well, and all of a sudden, somehow the people got the power that the king had, right? Instead of trying to find a balance and saying, well, we have the power now to get the king's attention, and we're a threat, so we should go to the king with some demands, and he knows that he can't fuck us over, because whatever force he would use, we can counter it with our own force. But because he's been a king and he kind of knows what it takes to lead, he might be abusing his power, but still he's a king. We rather be that check and balance to get him to act right, and then the whole kingdom will prosper. That would probably be the ideal solution. But what would really happen is, if you gave that same kind of power to the people, they would overthrow the king, kill him, and then they would try to govern themselves. And since they don't know what the fuck they're doing, the whole kingdom would just fall down. All because they got the same level of power, and it went to their head. And because they were oppressed, the only thing they know was revenge. So they couldn't even properly use their newfound power anyway. And this happens in everything. It's like, oh, you give women more rights and this, that, and the other. Guess what? The family's falling apart because they don't know how to balance the shit out. So, whatever. If blacks ever got reparations or whatever the case, but guess what? They're going to be buying and selling drugs with it or some shit. And that shit's going to fall apart. You know what I'm saying? And that's because when you give an oppressed group, like, you'd have to kind of trickle the power in. You couldn't just give it to them because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. You know what I'm saying? So typically when a woman's in a leadership position, especially in a relationship, she gonna run it into the ground unless you would have to be such a beta male to where you would just let her just run buck wild all over you. You probably have to let her fuck another dude, and then you'll just be there cleaning her crotch off or something. Like, It is what it is. So yeah, I don't appreciate the whole DJ Envy thing. I think he kind of like dropped the ball on that shit. He should have probably kept his wife chilling in the background, making sure that his brand is successful, and let regular people. There's enough people in the world with shitty sex lives that could pop out with a book, and it would be just as relevant. Like, oh, it's like, man, celebrities got problems. Like, their bodies are the same. They're not known for fucking. They're known for whatever talent that, spinning a turntable and shit. So his dick will malfunction and fuck up just like anybody else. He ain't immune to the same shit. That's why it's like anybody could have wrote that book, and you should. And if you want something to relate to, most people are regular niggas. They would relate to a regular. I don't need to relate to DJ. Oh, DJ has sex problems. He's a millionaire with sex problems. Like, I can't relate. He's a millionaire with, he literally has way more options to get out of that situation because he's rich. So I don't need to hear about him. Let me hear about regular ass niggas on my level and how it boggles my mind. He don't gotta be the one to do it. But his woman probably put him up to it, or maybe he felt like his shine was dimming and he needed to get back into the limelight. So it is what it is. But it's your boy Logic. I'll holla at y'all later. Peace.